Cody and I have a mutual friend. His manager, Kenny Goodman, was my boss. I was his intern, and he used to bully me all the time. But when you and Kenny are talking about scripts and working on projects together, what are those conversations like? What are you trying to do as an actor? What do you love so much about this?
Acting, I love being able to travel, and it's really fun when you get to meet new people, and when you get a job, it's really exciting. And reading scripts, there's a lot of different scripts, and there's some awesome ones, and then there was this, and it was very cool.
Does Kenny throw stuff at you like he used to throw stuff at me?
He doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't.
We got any questions from the audience here? Yeah, right here in the front.
The automobile accident, there was filmed on the inside. How was that done?
Richard Jenkins is an amazing stunt driver. No, actually, I'm not going to give exactly the secret of that away yet, only because the movie hasn't come out yet, and I know that it actually could get out, and then I don't want people to watch it. But that stunt was a hard thing to do, and I will tell you that is Richard in the front of that car there, and there is a way that we had him sort of doing it. And the scene was kind of inspired. What I wanted to do was kind of do a riff on Dial M for Murder, where you kind of know the way in which the things are supposed to play out. And you know what the murder is supposed to be. You know, in Dial M for Murder, they're going to kill Grace Kelly, and they tell you every step, and you're ready to watch it. Hitchcock sets you up, and then bit by bit, you watch as that scene doesn't follow any of their plan. And as that happens, an amazing thing happens, which is that the genius of Hitchcock is he makes you identify with the killer. Initially, you're thinking, oh no, Grace Kelly's going to die, and then all of a sudden, oh, that didn't work out. No, you got to get around, man. And then he starts doing that, and that doesn't work, and then she stabs him with the scissors, and you're like, this is a tragedy. What happened? Grace Kelly killed that guy. And it's an amazing thing that he does, and I wanted to do the same thing with Richard's character. I wanted to set up the terrible way that he kills people, and I sort of did some research about serial killers, and there was actually a guy who was found in the back seat of a car. It's kind of a great urban legend kind of story, but this guy was found at a Walmart. Somebody had seen him break into a car and hide in the back, and they went into the Walmart, and they said, is that your car out there? Because somebody's in the back. And they called the police, and when they arrested this guy, they discovered that he had killed a number of people and that he was a serial killer. And so I was trying to come up with a method that you would meet a character who was doing reprehensible things, and you'd meet them in the scariest of possible ways, and that the film was a process of tearing those layers down and starting to sort of feel for him. And that when you got to that final scene, that you thought, oh, here we go again, now we're going to watch Richard Jenkins stick a knife into a kid's jugular, and then that didn't happen. Somebody else gets in the car. And by the end, you start rooting for Richard Jenkins, and you feel bad for him as he goes plummeting down a hill. And that was my intention. And that particular shot, I worked with the VFX supervisor in order to achieve, because it wasn't an easy one to do. And he brought in for me, I said I wanted this to be a very point of view. We've done this stuff like this in Cloverfield, like when the helicopter goes down, like I wanted to feel that visceral feeling, like you were really with him as opposed to watching something from the outside. And he brought in all these YouTube videos, and they're amazing ones to look up, actual accidents. And this guy had a camera on his dash, and I guess it was some kind of security camera, and he was filming something. It's an amazing video to watch. You can definitely YouTube it, you'll see it. But this guy's driving, and he starts to nod off. And you're thinking, that can't be good. And all of a sudden, the horizon starts to move, and he lifts his eyes like, what? And then all of a sudden, he starts defying gravity, and he's up on the roof. And he lived, but it was visceral. So I said to my VFX supervisor, Brad, I said, let's do that. And he said, yeah, great. So we'll do this, and you'll cut here. And I said, no. I want to do that. I don't want to cut. And he goes, oh, that's going to be hard. And I said, yeah, let's do that. And we figured out how to do it, and I'm going to give the answer. We're doing a whole thing about it on the DVD or whatever, and I'll explain it, but I'm thrilled that you like the shot. Thank you.
I thought Richard was just a bad driver.
Yeah, he was mean to do that, and we caught it, and he wasn't hurt too bad.
There you go.
I'm going to check my car now, and maybe get in the parking garage.
That freaked me out.
Anybody else got a question for these guys up here? Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, this is for Matt. On the visceral feeling that you were describing, I thought it was absolutely visceral. It definitely resonated on the screen. Could you talk a little bit about how you achieve that, especially shooting through glass a lot and through windows with reflections, and still how we feel like we're right there with the characters?
Well, I mean, I think the thing that I'm drawn to, and it's interesting because I don't know if you've seen the Swedish film, which is absolutely gorgeous, but it has a kind of Scandinavian remove, and things are a bit wider, and he lets these gorgeous masters play out, and they're amazing. but I wanted to do something a bit more in sort of classical point of view filmmaking. I wanted it to be more intimate. I wanted the world to look the way it would look to Cody's character, and I wanted to put the characters, sort of all the shots would sort of reflect as he might see them, and try to. That's why you don't see the mother's face, because it's all sort of the emotional state that he's in and the distance he feels. And you know, a lot of that stuff, even shooting through glass, it has a kind of voyeuristic quality, a kind of intimate quality, and his character's kind of a voyeur. And so it's about sort of staring and stealing into people's lives, and that was sort of the attempt, was to get close to how it felt to be him. And the attempt was always to try and figure out how, and actually Cody sort of would guide me in certain things. You know, I was really lucky because J.J. Abrams, who produced Cloverfield with me, we've been friends since we were kids, and he, you know, he has a relationship with Steven Spielberg, which as a kid was like, I'm like, you're friends with Steven Spielberg? I don't understand. And I used to have dreams about watching movies with Steven Spielberg. It wasn't that I wanted to like have him make my movies or that I could work with him. I thought if I could just sit in the theater with Steven Spielberg. But anyway, he was great friends with him, and he said, you know, you should watch Cloverfield. And Spielberg watched it and he loved it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I met him, and he said, you know, you scared the hell out of me. And I said, that's great, because you've scared me many, many times. And when I was doing this, I said, you know, I'd love to talk to him about directing children. And he was very generous, and he said, you know, why don't you know, come meet with me? And I went to his office, and he said to me, you know, amazing things. We talked about the journals, which actually we ended up doing. He suggested that, he said, you know, have them keep character journals and have them write anything they want in it. The only rule is they have to share it with you. And Cody and Chloe did that. And the other thing he said to me, though, was they're 12, and you're trying to remember what it's like to be 12. You're trying to create that world. He said, but never forget, they're 12. Or Cody had just turned 13. And I think the thing he said is let them tell you what actually they see. And there are times I would say, I would turn to Cody and say, well, where would you be in your room? What would you do? And he'd say, well, keeping it real, I think I could start over here. I was like, that's great. But even shot ideas, we're shooting that scene with Elias walking down the hall, and they're sitting there, you know, he's about to find, you know, Chloe in the tub. And Cody's sitting on the ground, and he actually asked me to stay longer that day, because he was like, this scene is awesome. And I was like, oh, you like this? He said, yeah, I have the blood and the whole thing. And he said, well, you know, it would be really cool, because he's sitting on the ground and he has this kid's eye view. I put out all these toys that I thought they'd be playing with, because she loves puzzles. And he said, it'd be really great if Elias stepped on the mechanical bird. And I was like, that is the greatest idea ever. And so we shot the whole thing. You know, it's a low-budget movie. We didn't have a lot of time to shoot. So I got Elias's reactions. And then the night that we were doing the trick that I can't tell you about, where we were shooting the car, I ran onto the other stage, and I threw on Elias's pants and his boots, and our director of photography threw a camera over my shoulder, and I was Elias's feet with the mechanical bird. But it was all because I let myself be guided as much as possible by their points of view and the things. I knew there were things I wanted to do, and I planned things out meticulously. It's the way I like to work. But I like to be surprised and sort of draw out from them what they see and what they do, and especially if you're making a movie about kids, you want to sort of see things from their point of view. And Cody would always have things like that. He'd be sitting on the bed, he'd go, you should see what the scene looks like from here. And I'd be like, you're right.
During casting, this is from Matt and Cody, during casting, was it pretty obvious with Cody and Sophie's relationship, like right on, or did you have to go through a lot of, you know,